Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Welcome to another installment of Flyer Gonna Flyer, our 54th episode. As we are recording this today on Sunday, October 5th, we are just 4 days away from opening night. It is very close. We can taste hockey. It's almost here. We got a lot to talk about today. The rosters seem like they're pretty much set. We're going to give our feedback on just everything in general when it comes to that. Our thoughts about the last cups and the guys that did make the team. Preseason wrap-up as a whole. What we liked, what we didn't like. And transition into some regular season hockey talk with some predictions to go over as well. Sit back, relax, and get ready. Another installment of Flyer Gonna Flyer starts right now. Hello, everybody. It is time for our 54th episode of Flyer Gonna Flyer. I am your co-host, Alex Fournette, and join with me are my two other awesome, gracious co-hosts, starting with the man below me, the seasoned veteran. You know him, you love him, from the Flyers nitty gritty, Jamey Baskow. Jamey, how we doing today, brother?
Aloha mahalo. Doing pretty good. Like you said, opening nights 4 nights away against the defending champs, man. And lo and behold, Flyers fans, that's still a stock club, even with the loss of Barkov and Tkachuk. It's going to be a very, very tough game. They have phenomenal players over there, up and down the lineup. They got a lot of depth. I don't think they're going to miss those guys too much. That's for sure.
Yeah, I will say this. That the Flyers have played pretty well against the Florida Panthers over the last 2 or 3 years. So I think they have a fighting chance.
Take
and
me
without
over.
Barkov and Chuck, I think they're going to give them a good competitive game. So we'll see
Take
how
the
that
over.
goes.
Take the over. It always goes over.
Yeah.
Take the over. Yeah, I think the over-under will probably be set at 6. They're probably going to score 15.
Jeez,
I'm serious about this.
Right.
They always score
for penalty
some
minutes.
reason. Flyers, Panthers games, it's crazy. You remember that one game? It was like the Flyers were up 2 goals, and the Panthers scored 4, and they went up 2 goals. Then the Flyers scored. That was with Pronger. You remember this? And then the Flyers went up by 2. It was like
2010.
It was like 10-9 by the end of the day. They went into that shootout. Actually, I think it was 11-10, if I'm not mistaken.
I don't remember them having a game that high scoring, but wow. The only high scoring game I can think of that magnitude was that Flyers-Jets game in 11-12. Do you remember that one?
I actually forget that one, to be honest with you.
Yeah,
but it probably did happen if you remember.
During the 2011-12 season, they lost 9-8 was the final. But
9-8. Wow. Dang.
One of the craziest finals I've ever seen. But anyway, the man to my left, you know him, you love him, the man of fashion himself, with the greatest beard on Flyer Gonna Flyer, Mr. Eric Martinez. Eric, how we doing today, brother?
Yeah.
Got his regular season beard go.
No, it's a great day, man. I was saying before, man. I don't know, Jamey, is there an over/under for how many penalty minutes are going to be in that game? Because holy fuck, man! Did you see Florida and Tampa the last 2 games? Something like over 450 minutes in penalties.
Yeah.
274 penalty minutes last night. That was insane. They don't like each other.
Clearly not. Hopefully
they're the defending champs. They're the hunted. They are the hunted. They're the defending champs, man. And Eric, I'm digging that regular season beard, man.
Oh yeah.
He ain't shaving it off. Ladies and gentlemen, he will not shave off his beard until the Flyers make the playoffs.
Hopefully that will happen in April. We'll see.
That's going to let it grow wild if we make the playoffs.
Oh, jeez. It's going to be luxurious. But anyway, let's move right on to things. We got a lot to talk about today. We're going to start right off with the end of the season cuts and what we think of what is presumed to be the final roster. So last night, the final cut was made. It seems like Dennis Gilbert went through waivers, which means it looks like Jet Luchenko is making this team, at least for now. Nikita Grabenkin, who looks like he was their best rookie in camp, as we talked about last episode. He looks like he's a lot for the team. Noah Juleson, unfortunately, is likely going to be here. Hopefully, it's just their 7th defenseman, as is Igor Zamula. But Adam Ginning looks like a nice come up. But when we had guys who didn't really meet expectations, Alex Bump being one of the surprising disappointments. Let me start off with you, Eric. What did you think of who making the team, who didn't make the team, and just in general about what looks like the final shaped up roster for the Flyers?
Well, surprises. I don't. I guess I'm a little surprised about Emil Andre not making the team. Clearly, I think we're all pissed off about that. Like a lot of Flyers Twitter, Flyers on basically the online presence is extremely pissed about this. And look, I understand. I understand 100%. I understand completely. If this spot was supposed to be given on merit and merit alone, like I'm sorry, but like Andre should have gotten that spot over any of these guys that actually made the team. And look, like I understand the Flyers want they don't want too many smaller guys on defense, and I kind of get that. And look, like some coaches, they prefer. And I think I put this on Twitter. Some coaches just prefer having a bigger shutdown third pair. So having, let's say, a guy like Jolson and Yinning on your third pair, I guess gives you a little bit more of that. They could play penalty kill. They could just be put down just to shut down the opposition in certain situations. So I kind of get it. And look, at the end of the day, and I think it was Yuri that brought this up, and I had the same thought at one point. Andre is waiver exempt, So at the end of the day, like, look, would you rather him playing on a third pair? He's not going to get power play time because power play 1 is Drysdale's, power play 2 is either York or Sanheim. So he wasn't going to get power play time. He was going to maybe play 10 minutes a game. So, like, personally, I guess maybe it might actually be better for him to play on the top pair in Lehigh Valley, the top power play unit. And look, if one of those guys goes down, if a York or a Drysdale or a Sanheim goes down, obviously, clearly, he should be the first call up, and he can easily just slot into that spot. So that was a bit of a surprise. Alex Bump, honestly, I wasn't surprised that he got cut. Honestly, because, and I said a couple episodes ago, I thought he wasn't going to make the team, and not because he's not talented. I like Alex Bump. I think he's going to be a good player in the future. I just didn't see a spot for him in the top 9, really. And look, I don't think he had a bad camp. I think he was a little snake bitten at times. Like he could have had a goal here or there, at least an assist. So, but like it just didn't come for him. But I think he still needs time. Like he still needs a bit of time because you saw it even in the playoffs. Like he had a hot start with the Phantoms and then kind of tailed off towards the end. So like I think he needs time. And when it comes to Lutsenko, look, there was no. I said there. I expected him to make the team because honestly, at the end of the day, where's he going to go? He's going to go play in Guelph for what? For who? Like no. And look, this is like something that I've been thinking of, and I wanted to say, like, look, at the end of the day, Canada Juniors, the Canada Juniors, sorry, but like the World Juniors, they start like the camp starts around like mid-December, like right before Christmas. That's about the 30 game mark for the Flyers.
Yeah.
So I can see like Lutsenko playing in those first 30 games, whether and then you see how it does. The Flyers just gauge how it's going for him. If like he's still like, let's say, in a fourth line role and he's playing well, but like whatever, you could send him to the tournament. Go for next month, go play in the World Juniors, have yourself a time. And then at the end, when he comes back, then you make a decision. You could be like, listen, do we keep him here for the rest of the year? Or do we say, listen, Guelph, call the GM, be like, listen, trade his ass because we want to send him to we want to send them back to juniors. But I don't want to send him to Guelph. And that's it, So no, but those 3 are the big real takeaways from like this so far final roster that I got.
Valid points, especially on Lutsenko's perspective. It is going to be an interesting decision to see what they do with him throughout the year. Jamey, how about you? What are your thoughts as a collective whole right now on the guys who made and did not make the team?
As a collective whole, I'm pretty pissed.
Mm-hmm.
That Emil Andre cut got me fired up. I didn't understand it. And that if the Flyers haven't made the playoffs for the past 5 seasons, they have no right sending down a player who's clearly outplayed all of Zamula, Adam Jennings, Noah Juleson, and Dennis Gilbert. Yes, is size important? Sure. But the Flyers have no right sending down a player, hey, you don't meet our size requirement. You're out. He was out from the gate. He was out from the rip. They should have, if he was that cut, they should have sent him back earlier. That's how I feel about that. He shouldn't have been one of the last, bit of 10 there. They should have sent him back sooner, had him, train with the other Phantoms, up there, in Lehigh and stuff like that. Maybe not with the big team or something, but like the Flyers have no right cherry picking. Okay, this is our important requirement. They haven't made the playoffs in 5 years. You start making the playoffs, then you can cherry pick who should play. The best players should play. That's always been my philosophy. That's been Rick Tocchet's philosophy. That's been, when he was hired, he said that. Danny Briere's philosophy, Keith Jones. This goes into that realm because I think it goes against what the regime has been saying all along. And I wonder if this one cut could hinder free agents or somebody looking, oh, okay, I'm going to go to Philly and I could get cut. Like, why would I go to Philly and get cut? You know what I mean? And stuff like that. Like, if I outplay people, I'm still going to get cut. I think it just shows other players that this is what's happening. Yes, waivers exempt probably, you're right, Eric, your Reef hit the nail on the head. It probably did play a factor. I actually was worried on Nikita Grebeckin because he's actually waivers exempt as well. I thought maybe that they wouldn't make that final cut, that he would be the final cut because of such, and keep Andre in that realm because Grebeckin is also waivers exempt. They have to throw Rodrigo Abels through waivers, and I don't think they want to. They're lacking depth down the middle as is. And Jet Luchenko, you're right. He's probably going to get at the very least, a 9-game tryout. I'm with you on that. I don't want him going back to Gulf. But what the 9-game tryout does, Eric and Alex, I want to make this point known, is that it buys time to get him into a team overseas. I'd much rather see, if Jet Luchenko's on board, of course, there's parameters for this, but if Jet Luchenko's on board with playing overseas, maybe in the Swedish Elite League, the Flyers can loan him. It is possible, loan him to the SHL or, league, maybe the legal league, in Finland or something like that. Maybe get some adequate playing time. And they have connections over there. Sammy Kapanen is there. Mm-hmm. He's coached now, so it's not like the Flyers don't have a connection overseas anymore. They have that connection, especially with Djurgården, and stuff like that. They're very familiar with them because many Flyers have come from that particular program. Adam Jennings' program. Adam Jennings played all over in Sweden, so there's that Flyer connection there. So it's not like the Flyers don't have connections overseas. They have connections. Or what it does also do is buy time for a trade for the Gulf to make a trade. I think they're probably going to try to move Luchenko anyway. In some way. I don't think he'd go to the Gulf and just stay there. I think they'd much rather trade him knowing that this is his last season. They're going to get everything they can for him. And I can see a team like the London Knights who just lost Denver Barkey, and stuff like that down the middle, who plays down the middle there. I can see the London Knights and Mark Hunter being involved and getting a flashy player in there. They used to have, obviously, Oliver Bonk and Denver Barkey and Sawyer Bolton, with them. So I could see, so there's connections with Flyers there. They have a very good rapport with the Hunter brothers. I could possibly see, him being moved to the London Knights is a great example. I could see him. So I agree, Eric. I don't want him playing for the Gulf because there's no point. But this 9-game tryout buys time to try to find other leagues and other teams to play for. But I don't think he is going to play on the fourth line. I think that's just an anomaly right now. And I feel bad because Christian Dvorak has had one hell of a preseason. My thoughts on Dvorak. When the moment they signed him, I thought he was an underrated signing. A lot of Flyers fans killed that signing. And we know that from Twitter, Flyers Twitter, I'll say in particular, didn't like that signing. Oh, that's too much for, an aged vet. No, it was right. It's about right. Look at his preseason. Look at his camp. I mean, the guy has come in here and just killed it. He's familiar with Rick Tocchet's system. So same thing with Noah Juleson. He was going to make the club. The moment these two players were signed, they were making the club. And that's the problem I have. I don't think it should be like that. Dvorak earned that spot. Noah Jolson's played like crap. I'm gonna put it out there like that. He has, and just because he's familiar with Tocchet doesn't mean he should stay. That's where the Mil Andre factor comes into me. Is that this guy has played like crap and he knows Rick Tocchet, so let's keep him. Tocchet mentioned that in his presser yesterday, I don't know if people missed that. I heard that loud and clear.
Yeah.
He's familiar with me and stuff, and and stuff. So I understand. He knows me. I know him, and I'm like, okay, cool, great, that's fantastic. And I'm not bashing Rick Tocchet by any means, but honestly, I'm a bit frustrated in a sense to where this guy hasn't earned a spot at all. You know what I mean? Just because he's familiar with you, cool. I appreciate that. But it doesn't mean that I can't be, upset or mad about that, in the same token. He hasn't earned nothing, in my opinion. So, placing him on waivers would be cool to me too. It'd be no love lost there, but I do understand with players sitting, and he did mention that in terms of Rodrigo Abels and Jet Luchenko and stuff. He said, he didn't want players to only play 3 or 4 minutes. He'd much rather, send them, like you just honed in on, Eric, send them back, to get playing time is pretty much what he said in a nutshell, and that goes for Luchenko. I think he was speaking that loud and clear for Abels and Luchenko.
I think you made some really good points there, Jamey. I think we're all in agreement. Emil Andre kind of got the shaft in this. Listen, we saw a spark from him the first half of the year last year. That was pretty apparent. That was pretty obvious. The kid played really good when he got his opportunity throughout November, December last season. He got dinged up. He got sent back down. He came back up. The second stint here, he struggled. I don't think he was all that bad in training camp this year, too. It's apparent. I would have taken him over Juleson. I would have taken him over Gilbert. I would have taken him over Ginning. No disrespect to Ginning. I'm glad for the kid that he got a spot. A little bit older of a player, but at least there's some opportunity there for the kid. Has some size to his game. He's probably a number 6 defenseman in reality. You know what you're getting at him. But at least he brings some merit of size. With Andre, I get he's smaller, but you have options on the power play. Obviously, you're probably going to be starting with Drysdale and York. But, as you mentioned, one of them gets hurt. You can instantly insert him right into that power play role. Or if there's even some struggles, maybe put him on power play, too, to see if he can give him a spark. And we know history with this team's power play. With our luck, there probably will be some. But
yeah, you're right about that.
Yeah. On Luchenko, I am glad that he did get a spot. I personally was a little bit surprised just because I saw the log jam down the middle, but it seems like they're going to be starting Dvorak over on the wing. If I had to make a prediction that Dvorak, Zegras, Michkov line looks like it's going to be at least locked in to start the year, but you can always move Dvorak down the middle because of his face-off potential, and it takes some press off Zegras until he starts finding some improvement in the dot. So I think that's probably why they're like, okay, we can keep Luchenko here for now, whether it's the 9-game tryout, as you mentioned, Jamey, and if he eventually gets sent back down to Gulf, and we'll see what happens there. I think we're all in agreement. We do not want him to stay there. He needs to, if he's going to get eventually sent down there, he needs to get moved at some point. And them stripping away the captain spot away from him, as I think I mentioned an episode or two ago, could be an eventual sign that, knowing it's his last year there, they're probably going to ship him there. So we'll see. He's going to really need to impress in this first 9-game tryout. And unfortunately, it's going to be a little difficult for him to do that because he's probably going to be starting on the 4th line with, I'm going to take a prediction. It's going to be Grabankin, him, and Hathaway on that 4th line, which on paper is a pretty talented 4th line.
It's a good 4th line.
Yeah, you've got some talent there.
Yeah.
I don't know if I'm going to assume, I'm just going to come out with it now since I already said my lines. I think they're going to start my prediction for lines. Tippett, Coots, Konechny, Dvorak, Zegras, Michkov, the obvious line on the 3rd line of Forster, Cates, and Brink, and then Grabankin, Luchenko, Hathaway is that 4th line. And then probably have A-Balls as the 13th forward and Zegras. I mean, not Zegras, and D'Lo. But the good news is he's getting his chance to see what he can do. But it is going to be tough just based off of what they're going to probably have for line combinations. I'm a little disappointed with Alex Bump. We saw some spark with him in Western Michigan. We saw some spark with him last training camp. We saw some spark with him in summer workouts where him and Porter Martone looked like the 2 clear-cut above guys during that. And as you mentioned, Eric, wasn't bad in training camp. He was okay. But in my opinion, it was a little underwhelming. You expected more when you saw what you saw, as I mentioned, Western Michigan summer last training camp, you thought he was going to get to consistently build off of that. And he had his chances, but as you mentioned, he may have been a little snake bitten. He didn't really get the opportunities to really show off. So we'll see what comes of that. Maybe he gets called up later in the year. He starts building some confidence in the AHL. It's good that he's going to get that opportunity to play consistently high-end AHL minutes, probably in their first or second line. So we'll see if he can build some confidence there, maybe be a first or second month call-up later in the year if someone starts to struggle, or maybe we get some injuries.
Yeah.
Is probably likely going to happen one or the other. Trying to think some other guys. There was some disappointment elsewhere. Julson sucks, as you mentioned. There's no point.
That damn 47. It's that 47, man.
The Andrew McDonald curse. Perfect. It's the Andrew McDonald curse. That number is cursed. Get that number out of here. It's until
take it out of rotation.
Until Garnett Hathaway was here, I thought 19 was a little cursed too with friggin' Nolan Patrick. But maybe that one's getting cleaned up a little bit now.
Yeah, Hathaway's good.
Julson sucks. And another guy we need to really harp on is friggin' Igor Zamula. He was the worst flyer in training. This kid couldn't do a damn thing correct. And he couldn't do a fucking thing correct. This dude was coughing the puck up like he had some type of upper respiratory infection. It was horrible. If it was up to me, Andre and Ginning would be that third pairing right now. But, and the translation thing with Michkov, God, I really hope Zamula is gone after this year. Because the translation thing should be out the window now, especially now that you have Verbank in here, number one, and Michkov got another year to learn the English language. It looks like he's getting a better flow of it. He's starting to do a little bit of English interviews too. Maybe by the third year, he'll have a really strong pickup of the language. So I don't want to hear that translation and, connection thing anymore, especially with Verbank in here now. You give him that comfortability. Another positive, Zegras looks good. Zegras looks good. This kid here, he looks like he's ready to make an impact and find the friggin' revival spot here in Philly. Did you see that shootout goal? Oh, my God. Against Jersey. He made that look so effortless. He looks ready to rock and roll. He looks like a high roller, and we got something in this kid. I'm excited to see what he brings next. But as a collective whole, it was a little bit underwhelming of a camp from the youth, but some of the guys I brought in, Zegras, Dvorak, as you mentioned, he looked like he fit like a glove. That drop pass goal to Sandheim was absolutely disgusting. Yeah. That was great to see in that. It was a couple of preseason games ago. I think it was against the Islanders, if I remember correctly. You've got something there. You definitely have something there. It's going to be exciting to see what that Dvorak, Zegras, Michkov line goes with. I think Dvorak eventually will go down the lineup. And I eventually want to see the Forrester Cates Brink line break up, not because I don't like it, but because I think Tyson deserves a chance to move higher up in the lineup. I think his guy, if you give him top 6 minutes, is a 30-goal scorer this year. He's going to be the player, as I mentioned last episode, what we thought Joel Farabee could be. But, we'll see.
He's had a great preseason.
What the season holds next.
Joel Farabee has had a great preseason.
He has, but he needs to go consistently in Calgary because this guy's got a 35 points in the last 115 games. That ain't cutting. So I'm excited to see what this regular season holds. Boys, any other final thoughts before we move on?
Yeah, just quick on Julson, because, guys, look, you're right, man. The guy did really not have a good preseason so far, training camp in general. And it's funny because I don't know if you guys listened to, the post-game that Talk did after the New Jersey game, after the last game. And he literally said it himself.
Yeah.
He's like, I thought Julson was okay today. He wasn't as good as last game. And he wasn't great the 2 games before. I'm like, so, what the fuck? You're telling me he sucks. But look,
that's why I brought that up. That's why I brought that up, because he was praising him, in the same token saying, oh yeah, of course he was going to make the team. And I'm like, what? Like, so you already had it penciled in that Andre wasn't, and that was my whole thing was like Jolson was madly outplayed by every single other damn defenseman. It sucks with the injury to Sampson, and I brought that up on another podcast because I think Ethan maybe could have squeaked in there. They would have had no other choice but to take Ethan over Jolson, but it sounded like it wasn't anyway. With the way Tocchet spoke yesterday, like you just brought up again. It was like Jolson was making the team. Like he already had him penciled in.
Like honestly, the only reason I honestly think he made this team is that he's a right shot defenseman. He's a right shot.
That's a good point. Yeah,
they don't have.
That's a great point. I didn't
Rick
think
Sanheim
that.
lefties, Sealer lefty, Yinning lefty,
Yeah,
Zamula
I didn't even
lefty.
think of that. To be honest with you.
Other than Drysdale, they're all lefties. And honestly, the
Yeah.
biggest disappointment, the biggest for me,
Great point.
like in general in the preseason, the biggest disappointment for me was Helge Grans. Because
hell yeah.
was wide open for
Dude,
you.
oh my God, yes.
Open.
Yes.
It was for me, in my opinion, and I think when we started before the preseason, I even said I expected Grans to make this team just on the fact that he's a right-hand shot. And what he played well last. But like,
dude, he
shit the bed. That's exactly what he did. Like, and it sucks because I know it's stuck with Juleson, and hopefully, like he only plays a few games here and there. Not a few games, but like limited minutes because it's been rough for him, man, this preseason.
I'm gonna be honest. I was never a big Helge Grans fan anyway. But then he opened my eye. I was like, oh, okay. He actually played well last year. I was like, maybe he does. Because I didn't like him when they picked him up from L.A., although he was involved with that trade. I get it. I understand it. But I remember this, the first rookie camp I was at, or developmental camp, because they had him come to Flyers developmental camp after he traded. Oh, my dude, he was flat-footed. He was just so damn slow. I was like, damn, he sucks. And then I was like, I could see why L.A. gave up on him. And then at rookie camp, he was so darn slow again. This is at rookie camp before training camp again. And then at training camp, he was so slow. And I was like, man, I don't know what it is. But then he went to Lehigh. And then he showed me something. I was like, oh, okay, there is potential. So, yeah, the biggest disappointment for me, you're right about that. You hit the nail on the head there. That's a great call.
He had a great call that a lot of these guys had. That flat-footed goal against the Bruins, man. Yeah. That was awful. Yeah. He just lost.
And people were Flyers Twitter actually went to his defense a little bit. They actually said, "Oh, he tripped." I looked at the video over and over again. He tripped over his own feet. I was like, okay, I can see if there was a trip and the refs missed it or something, with the stick or sometimes those anomalies happen like that. He tripped over his own feet. He just got beat and didn't it? He stopped. He got beat and tried to re-pick it up, and he tripped when he tried to get his feet moving again. I tell my son that in football, keep your feet moving. They can't bring you down. You know what I mean? It's the same thing in hockey. The moment you stop, you're done. You're absolutely done. It's the same, different sport. I get it. Same mechanics. Keep your feet moving. You know what I mean? And, you're right, Eric. That was a great call with that big disappointment there. I'll give you a positive. Travis Konechny looks like a beast. I don't care what anybody freaking says. He's going to have a damn good season here. And I said this on another podcast as well. It just gets on my nerves. He doesn't get enough clout in the city of Philadelphia because the team hasn't made the playoffs in the past 5 years. But this dude has busted his ass year in and year out, puts the team on his back. He's the catalyst of the Flyers. He reminds me, man, he's a beast. And he deserves all the credit in the world. He came to camp a month and a half early, busted his ass again. You know what I mean? And it shows that he is just bought into whatever coach comes here. He doesn't battle with the coaches. He got along with Torts, never battled with him. Him and Torts had a shouting match, and stuff when and Torts said he wanted him to be a leader. And he was like, really? And the shouting match ended. He said, really? He was like, yeah. He was like, I do, and that's why I'm so hard on you. And Konechny flat out he's like, no one's ever told me that before. And then a relationship was formed that way. Like he doesn't battle. He came in, busted his ass for Rick Tocchet's camp, and it's nowhere in the top 10 for that WIP list, that came out for top 10 athletes in Philly. But his name deserves to be up there because he year in and year out busted ass for this team, puts the team on his back, and just kills it. And he came into camp in great shape, great attitude, a great leader, and again had a great preseason. No shock to me, no shock probably to anybody. But I'm telling you, man, this dude is something.
When it comes to Konechny, I wholeheartedly agree. This guy has consistently gotten better year in and year out with his point production. It's gone up each of the last 5 years. His goal total did drop a little last year, but he became a playmaking machine. Now, the thing with Konechny, he always comes out guns a-blazing, on fire out of the gate. I completely anticipate that again. Guy was on almost 100-point pace last year before, till about maybe January-ish.
Yeah.
And then we suspect maybe he had an injury. I don't know. He said he was fine, so we'll see. The thing with Konechny that seems like a lot of the people that have criticism against him he always seems to tail a bit in the second half of the year. And I don't think he necessarily, it doesn't mean he's necessarily bad, but he doesn't get that same spark that he had in the first half of the year. It kind of goes like this a little bit with him. So if we could get a Konechny that's consistent, even if it means that he has a little bit slower start to the year, but picks it up in the second half and shows that level of consistency, I think he loses a lot of heat that he gets. Because it seems like look at that 23-4 run again, red hot out of the gate, but then he kind of tailed off a little bit. Last year, he was a machine in the first half. We were thinking 40-goal year, and then second half of the year, he only had 4 goals in the second half of the year. Now, was he injured? Let your eyes be the witness on that. He says he wasn't. Maybe he was. Maybe he wasn't. I think a lot of there is some validity that maybe he was dinged up with some potential shoulder injury. But if he can show that consistency throughout the year instead of having a start to the year that goes like that eventually, he would get the praise he deserves. I agree, though. He should be a top 10 athlete in this city. He's better than a couple of the guys. There was too many Eagles and Phillies on that list. That's, I think, a little bit of success value that Konechny has more of an impact than some of those guys. I think after this year, you'll see both Konechny and Michkov on that.
If they made the playoffs, it'd be so different in terms. But just because the team hasn't made the playoffs, and it's not because of Travis Konechny not scoring 40 goals, you know what I mean, or something of that nature. It has nothing to do with necessarily him, although you are right, in the second half of the season, his point total plateau, just mellows out, and he's just an even keel. You're right. But, man, I wish he would be up there. I wish they would make the playoffs for him to sneak into the top 10 there, and stuff. But you're right. You're right about the, second half of the year. But I see him potting 44 goals this year. That's how big I fucking am on it. Yeah.
He'll get up there and get 44 goals this year.
44, and I never curse, but that has fired me up, man. He'll be the first 40+ goal scorer since Jeff Carter back in 2008, 2009.
08, 09, yes. So after that, the highest they had was 2012 Scott Hartnell, who had 37.
Yeah, I mean, dude, I just love the way he came into camp in great shape. It looks like he trimmed down even, a little bit. He just came in as a leader, and leaders lead and shut their mouths up. And that's what he does. And he's taken Sanheim under his wing. Sanheim's more vocal, become more of a leader. I see him wearing an A, as well.
Sanheim?
Huh?
Did Sanheim get the second A?
It hasn't been. It's not actually official, but I believe he will. Yes, I believe I believe it's going to be Sanheim, Travis Konechny, and Coots. Yeah.
All right. So, with that being said, is there any other preseason thoughts we have before we move on to some regular season talk?
Just one interesting thing that I noticed, just a little, I don't know if you want to call it an anomaly or what. It's just something funny. Adam Yinning, okay? Because now apparently he wants, I don't know if you guys heard, but he wants to be called Yinning again.
With a Y. And then the Y pronunciation.
So, 2 seasons ago, he went under the name Adam Yinning. And remember, he was decent. He was good. Maybe we got something here. Last year, he's like, no, it's okay. Just call me Jinning. And he fucking sucked. Like, he was no good last year. Now this year, he goes back to Adam Yinning, and look, he made the team.
Mhm.
I'm just saying, man. It's
The Yinning curse.
Oh my word,
Yinning
man.
curse, we can call it.
long story short, guys, everybody out there, be true to yourself. All right, be true to yourself.
That's a great, that's a great quote, man. That's something to live by.
Yep.
All righty. Before we move on to the next topic, I'd like to give this a quick shout out. Rick, our producer, we are going to be selling some new merchandise over on our DPWM website. It's a little October Halloween promotion we have. Get 50% off our quote shirt of shame shirt with every purchase of $100 or more. Use the code THBOZO50 and go to Talking Habs Media shop.fourthwall.com/ENCAD. We are pretty much promoting this on our Pucking Around podcast pod. So take a look at this shirt. It looks funny. Something we do every week when we give our little bozo of the week push for those who kind of make an ass out of themselves. Sometimes it's me, sometimes it's Cam, sometimes it's Rick, sometimes, but very rarely,
it's always Rick. It's always Rick.
Always Rick. It's about 50% Rick. But yeah, check that out on our Talking Habs Media shop, fourthwall.com-en.cad. So, with that being said, let us move on to our final topic of the day. We're transitioning over to regular season hockey talk. So it looks like the roster is set. Let's give out some line predictions and some, predictions just in general about the regular season. And then we will do our first games upcoming this week in prediction for that. We always do that during the regular season. It's finally able to do that. So, Jamey, let me start with you this week. Give me your line combos, maybe some award or statistical predictions for the year. Have at it.
Well, I agree with your lines, but my only flop, I flip-flop Rebeckin and Dvorak. I have Dvorak starting out on the fourth line wing with Luchenko and Hathaway. My top line, well, I guess, I don't know if it's a top line or not. Rebeckin, Coots, and Michkov. I think that's a line that was solidified like at camp in particular. But I still think they run with Forrester, Cates, and Brink. And Zegras and TK are just a match made in heaven. So I think that's a Tippett, Zegras, and TK there. I think from the post-game presser, from what I heard yesterday, was really inclined. And that's why I think these lines, I think you're pretty much right, hit the nail on the head. But I honestly could see, I don't think I mentioned this on another podcast. For the first 2 to 4 weeks of the season, you're going to see intermixing of lines. Like, I think like Grebekin could be flip-flopped during the game for Devo, because he did mention he wants to get Dvorak in more, and he doesn't want players sitting for only playing 3 to 4 minutes. And I think he was honing in on Christian Dvorak, Nikita Grebekin, and Jet Luchenko in some way. I think that they're all going to intermix there, all be flip-flopped. Dvorak can play center, so I think that's when Dvorak will flip to the middle, have Luchenko on the wing. I can honestly see him, mixing like that during the game. I don't think that the starting lineups, not starting lineups, but the lineups for the first game, I don't think are going to be the same lineups throughout the entire game. I think you're going to see mixing and matching. I really do. Because I could honestly believe with what you're saying with Dvorak being on the wing with Coots and Michkov, I can honestly see that happening. Excuse me. And he mentioned, about the 3 to 4 minutes. What's that?
You mean Zegras and Michkov?
No, I don't think Zegras and Michkov are going to be a match. I think that Zegras and TK. Yeah, I the connection that there's so much chemistry with Zegras and TK, and they were paired together in the beginning of the in the beginning of the preseason. It was Zegras TK, the beginning of camp. Zegras TK, and then it was Zegras Michkov. And then, I think that he was toying with that because I think that I could see some intermixing in lines. I don't think those lines are all going to be the same during the game. So I think he intermixed it throughout the preseason, mixed and matched. And I think last night's game, I think yesterday's game were pretty much the four lines. I agree with you. And Zegras played with TK yesterday. And I can honestly see Zegras and TK being a pair together, and they do have a lot of chemistry together. In the same token, if Zegras and TK in particular, start to wane there, I can see him moving Mitchkoff and flip-flopping and probably having like a Tippett Zegras Mitchkoff. That's a fast line, or something of that nature. From what I gathered from his post-game presser and pre-game presser, is that he wants to get Tippett going. He sees Tippett as like a guy that could pot 30 to 40 goals. And he honed in on like trying to get Tippett going. Like, if we're going to go anywhere, we need this guy to get going. So it sounds like they're trying to like get Tippett on a line that like works. And I actually thought he played a solid game yesterday, Owen, and stuff like that with Zegras and TK. I honestly could see that line sticking together because of such. It looked like that they had chemistry together. And I don't think that, Tocchet wants to mess with that chemistry, at least to start the game. And that's why I agree with you. Those lines are pretty much set in stone. Just I have Rebeckin starting out with Coots and Mitchkoff and Devo on the fourth line.
Interesting. I actually had Zegras with Mitchkoff, so my lines are a little bit different than yours, but okay. I thought
you had Zegras with TK, to be honest. Sorry
no,
about
I
that.
had Dvorak, Zegras, Mitchkoff as my second. But honestly, I could definitely see the way they do it too, because they did start with that in camp, and it's kind of they want to mix it up a little bit. So that's definitely a possibility. How about some stats or awards or other potential bold predictions you have for the year?
Well, I think Owen Tippett does get going. I think he scores 26 goals. I think TK finishes with 44. I see, Mitchkoff ending with like 34, 35 goals. And I really think that, believe it or not, I think one of our best defensemen this year is going to be two best defensemen. I think are going to be Cam York and Jamey Drysdale. I am so high on Drysdale. I thought he had a great preseason. I thought he had a great camp. I thought Cam York came in with a great attitude, better attitude than what, happened last year. He just came in on a new slate, and it is a clean slate for him. This is a new coach and Rick Tocchet. What's happened in the past is in the past. You can't undo the past. The only way you could undo it is by performing. And he came in with a great attitude. He was skating well. I thought he had a great preseason. I thought I thought he had a great preseason. Every game, he showed me something. I think that Cam York is going to have a really, really, really big rebound year, and he's going to be that guy that's like, oh, okay. But I also think Travis Sanheim's going to have a good year too. And then I just don't see nothing from the bottom pairing. That's where my Achilles heel, and that and that I've mentioned that on a prior show. I can see like Erson and Vladar's numbers being inflated because of that bottom pairing, and that's really worrisome, that bottom pairing to me.
That's a good point. Yeah, I think we're all of a mutual agreement with that. I'm going to give a couple little predictions of myself before I move it off over to Eric. So I'm going to give I already gave you my lines earlier in the show. Number two, I'm going to give you a little bit of a record prediction. So I already did this last during the Puck Around podcast where I predicted the Flyers in sixth in the division. Push it up on this show. I've been seeing things more. I might be willing to push it to fifth. I do still think they're going to fall a little short of a playoff spot, but I think they're going to be playing very competitive games in March and April. I have them at about mid to high 80s now because I saw a little bit more, at least from the guys that are here right now, that gave me some positive progression. Obviously, Zegras looks like he's rejuvenated. Devo looks like he's going to be a good fit in the middle of the bottom six, wherever they slot him at. The top four defensemen at least look like they're ready to prove something. Erson scares me. I'm getting very worried. I'm not saying it's all his fault, but he needs to at least start showing that he can, bail out some games. Otherwise, the Flyers are going to have a very interesting decision to make at the end of next season. because you have Bjarnason knocking on the door. They're going to have ample amounts of cap. Kolosov could be knocking on the door. So, Urson, you're going to have to show something this year that you at least have the ability to steal games, even if you have a defense that's a little shaky in front of you at times. I'm looking forward to seeing the Cam York rebound season. I wholeheartedly agree with Jamey. He looked like someone who came in here as a man on a mission. I think I said this last episode, who is ready to prove that last season was nothing more than a fluke, that he's got a new leadership here, a team that he can grow with, a new system that he can implement. He's going to finally get some power play time that we have pushed for quite some time, at the bare minimum with that second unit. So, and it should be a better second power play unit just as a collective whole. Should be a better power play unit as a collective whole. So I look forward to that. As I mentioned, I think Zegras is rejuvenated here this season. I think he's going to be pushing to about 60 points. I think we're going to see signs of Zegras in 21-22 and 22-23 before he started tailing off with the curse of Greg Cronin. So he's got a new start here. He looks a lot more comfortable. This is probably the best set of wingers that he's ever played with. Because let's face it, even though the Ducks may have a better prospect pool than we are, the Flyers winger core is better than the Ducks. There's no, as a collective whole, there's no real debate with that. With right now, with Forster, Tippett, Konechny, and Michkov, and eventually Martone, that is a better winger core than I think what the Ducks have, me personally speaking. So he's going to get the opportunity, and he's got two guys that can help him in the faceoff dot that are really good with it, in Sean Couturier and Christian Dvorak. So I think he's going to show at least some level of improvement in the dot, which will be encouraging, where he can eventually stay away from a guy like Devo being on his line to getting a more steady two-way forward who has a little higher of a skill set, and like a Tyson Forster potentially. I'd like to eventually see, me personally, a Forster, Zegras, Michkov line. I think that line could terrify teams of what that could have potentially in store. Jamie Drysdale, I expect him to have a significant step forward. He looked great in camp. I have a prediction that he gets over 50 points. I really do. I said it when we had our points prediction series, and I'm going to double down on it. He looks like a guy who is ready to take a significant step forward this season. So I'm looking forward to seeing what that potentially has in store for this team. And then I'm going to give a very bold prediction of something I saw on social media that someone mentioned. I may have been Derek, but I can't remember who specifically said this. He said something that kind of made me think this about Nikita Grabenkin's play style and what he could present to this team. My bold prediction, I'm not saying that they're going to do it this year, but it could be a potential offseason move next year. Nikita Grabenkin is going to make Owen Tippett expendable. Nikita Grabenkin and Owen Tippett play a semi-similar style. Tippett's obviously faster, but Grabenkin gives you something that this team hasn't had in quite some time, a legitimate net front presence, especially on the power play. Forecheck, back check, paycheck. Love the line. He plays in front of that. He's a gritty style of guy. He was clearly their best, at least rookie on this team. And I could see Tippett having that rebound year, but my bold prediction, as I stated, that Nikita Grabenkin is going to have a positive impact to the point that Owen Tippett could eventually become expendable here, that it could boost up his trade value, and he could potentially be an off-season casualty of a trade and bring in a guy like Porter Martone potentially. Especially if Grabenkin sticks here, you're going to have such a log jam at the wing that you're not going to know what to do with all these guys. When Martone is eventually here, one or two of these guys are eventually going to have to move. And I think Owen Tippett, if Grabenkin ends up being the lock that he is, could be that offseason casualty to potentially bring some value back. So that is my bold prediction there. One other prediction I'm going to make, and this is more on the fear of what we're seeing with Urson. He needs to show some level of consistency. When he's good, he's good. When he's bad, he's bad. I think Dan Vladar could have a better statistical season than Samuel Urson. And from what I've seen so far, that would call that a little bit of a hot take as well. But I need to see Urson show strong levels of consistency here. At least some. I'm not asking him to be the future number one. We know that's not what he's going to do. But at least show that you're a capable, somewhat starting goaltender and push for 900 save percentage. I get the D core is rough, at least in the bottom pair for sure. But he's going to have to show that he can somewhat steal a game occasionally. And I need that consistently. I'm not asking him to freaking stand on his head every night, but I need him to show that maybe consistently wasn't the best word, but here and there he can steal a game. So those are some of the positives and negatives predictions I have for the season. I do think this team will be better offensively. I think in net they will be better by default because they can't be much worse. But I don't know how much better Urson will be. But I do think Vladar, as Eric hyped him up, and I started buying him more and more when he brought him up for sure, that the goaltending tandem will be better this year than last year for sure. How much better will Urson be? We'll see. But I do think Vladar will be a significant improvement over what you had in both Kolosov and Fedotov in net last year. And my bold predictions in the D-men. Oh, and Matvei Michkov is going to casually put up close to 9 points, if not more. I'm not going to say that one's casually, but he's going to fucking break out this year. And I am looking forward to the Matvei Michkov put the league on notice season. I'm ready for it. Eric, the floor is yours.
Yeah, no, like, look, the lines to
Can I
start.
say something before you get started?
Yeah, what's up?
Just quickly. I got 30 seconds.
30 seconds, go.
A few weeks ago, we did an interview with JJ Jackson, the Flyers play-by-play guy. It was a great interview. JJ was great, and he gave us like an hour and 20 minutes, and it was a lot of fun. So check it out. The QR code up there in the corner. Just you can find it there. Check it out. That's all I got.
Cool. Yeah, check it out, guys. Honestly, it was a real fun time. But getting back to my lines. Honestly, I think the opening night lineup is gonna pretty much look the way you said it, Alex, man. And like Jamie's right too. Like I think they could also swap TK and Mishkov and just like maybe just swap the lines. And I can honestly like I know they probably want to keep Forrester, Cates, and Brink together. But I could see actually Tippett and Forrester actually swapping. Like Forrester going on the top line with Coots and Tippett on the third line with Cates and Brink. Now, those are what I'm most probably think is going to happen. What I personally would like to see, though, is I'd prefer to see Forrester with Coots and TK. So you have like a really good line that you can match up because of Coots and Forrester's defensive acumen, I guess you could say. Like you could probably put them together you can match them with almost any line. Doesn't matter who, you can match these guys up with against anybody. Then I would like to see Cates with Zegras and Mishkov. And I would actually put Cates on that line because Cates is a forechecking demon. Like I've seen this kid go into the corners, man. He's got some hustle. He takes pucks out of the corners, man. I think he would be such a great compliment to Zegras and Mishkov. And if Cates can also like work on his faceoffs, because he's been playing center and he's okay. He's not terrible, but he's okay. He's average. I think he was just under 50% last year, if I'm not mistaken. So if he can work on that, he can also look, Devo and him can also swap. Like worst case scenario, if you really need a defensive a face-off, you just put him there instead of Cates. Line 3, sorry. What I would love to see is Tippett, Luchenko, and Brink. I think just the speed that Tippett and Luchenko bring together are gonna have to make defenses be honest, man. You cannot they're gonna be on their feet. They're gonna be on the back of their feet all game, like against that line. And look, Tippett is the kind of guy that it's not that he needs to do everything himself, but that's just his game. He has to transport the puck, bring it into the zone, and take a shot.
And this is why, just to add something, this is why I personally have emphasized on social media that the Tippett-Michkov combination does not work. And that's a big part of why I don't want them together. That is an excellent point you brought up, Eric. Continue.
100%. And that's why I don't see him on a line with even Zegras. Tippett and Zegras, Tippett, Zegras, Mishkov. For me, even Tippett, Zegras, TK. That doesn't work for me. Because these are three guys that want the puck all the time. It doesn't work. So if you could put him on a line, I'm not saying that Luchenko doesn't want the puck either, but that's not Luchenko's game. It's not. So having him and Luchenko with the speed, the way that Tippett can carry the puck, and even just the way that Luchenko can, the way he forechecks, and the way that he can make a pass, just make that pass to fucking Tippett and get him going, So I think that would be an ideal third line. And the fourth line, you have Grabankin, Devo, and Hathaway. I think that's a top third line. That could even be a third line on some teams. So ideally, that's what I would like to see. Is it what's gonna happen? Who knows? Like maybe like towards the middle of the season. Who knows? We'll see. But and then like look, coming with the defense, it's gonna be the usual. It's gonna be York Sandheim. It's gonna be Sealer Drysdale. It's gonna be Yinning and Juleson probably to start the season. Then once Ristolainen gets back, Ristolainen takes Juleson's spot, and then like ciao buddy, you can go become number 7, number 8,
Where's the ball? I'm fine with
whatever.
that too.
Yeah. So who knows? We'll see. And my like bold-ish prediction, I would say is I think Dan Vladar ends up being the number 1 goalie on this team. I think he ends up stealing the spot from Urson. It'll probably be either 50-50 split like to start the season, or maybe Urson has the slight edge. I think by midpoint of the season, I think Vladar steals the show. I think he steals the spot. He ends up becoming the quote unquote starter.
I totally agree with that, by the way. I totally agree with that.
Yeah. And look, just quickly, I don't know, like, look, for like Flyers awards, let's say, most improved, I could see Jamey Drysdale winning that one. Easily he's going to be the most improved player. I wanted to give it to Zegras, but I don't think he counts because he technically played for Anaheim, but so no, and I think Sanheim, who I wanted to mention, I forgot, he's having an incredible fucking preseason, Sanheim. So I think he wins the best defenseman on the team, and TK wins MVP.
Yeah, same words as last year primarily, except for Jamey Drysdale being most improved.
Mm-hmm. I dig that.
Well, I'm going to be honest. I agree with you with the Dan Vladar aspect, although I don't think they're going to actually have a quasi 1A, 1B. I think they're just going to share the net. And I don't think that they want to, for some reason, they love Urson. And I think it's because of injuries. They see a lot of promise. So I think that, honestly, I see that they don't want to actually say, yes, he's not the starter, or yes, Dan Vladar actually is the starter for confidence purposes. But yeah, I think Vladar has really opened my eyes, on what he can be. But I'm just worried about that bottom D pairing, man. It's so bad. Like I really think that the numbers are going to be inflated a bit, and I think that in some way they're going to have to tinker until Ristolainen comes back. Like maybe double shift Sealer or something of that nature, or start double shifting York. We've seen that in the past where, Torts has done that, give some extra minutes, and stuff like that. I don't know. Mm-hmm. I'm really worried about that bottom pairing, but yeah, I see Tippett actually being traded by the by trade deadline. I see him being the odd man out. And I think Devo,
we're both on that train.
Yeah. I think I thought about it overnight. With Devo playing on the wing, I think it makes him expendable. And you're right. If there's one player on the Flyers lineup right now that just doesn't make sense, I hone in on Owen Tippett. And you're right. I mean, Porter Martone is going to be coming up here, but don't forget about Denver Barkey either. I don't see a shot for him down the middle. So you're gonna have some wingers here trying to pop next season. And Denver had, that last game, Denver Barkey took control of that game at the end on the power play and stuff. He was a focal point. I think Taka got something he liked out of that, although I think the writing was on the wall for him to go to Lehigh anyway. Nonetheless, there's no doubt that he opened Taka's eyes there, in my opinion. You're going to have a logjam there. And the odd man out that I see is Tippett, because where are you putting him in this lineup, to try to get him going? And Taka said that. Taka toned in on that. I'll say it again. Taka said there's one guy that needs to get going, and it's Owen Tippett. We need to get him going. That shows me already those are the same exact words that Torts freaking said, for the past 2 years. We got to find a way to get Tippett going. Did he not? How many times did Torts say that? We got to figure out how to get him going. He's got to he's got to hit the damn net. How many times did Torts say that? These are sort of the same things. If there's one guy, and I hate to be that guy, because I like Owen Tippett as a personality, his personality jives, and stuff. But I don't see a fit in this lineup. If there's one guy, if somebody asks me, who do you see not fit? It's Owen Tippett.
And, I couldn't agree more with that. The big issue with Tippett right now is just we're still talking about what he could become, not what he is. He's, 25, 20? I think he's 26 years old.
26.
You're at a point where we need to see that happen. You're practically in the prime of your career now. I'm not saying he's a bad overall player. He's a productive player that would make sense on a team that's winger needy. Buffalo makes perfect sense for a guy like him. Like, they need wingers coming out their ass. The Islanders are another team that could use some winger help. Teams like that would be a better fit for him where he could work that. The one thing I will say I'm a little nervous about when it comes to losing Tippett would be the loss of size, because he is a little bit of a bigger body, but that's where Grabankin comes in. If Grabankin can show he's a consistent part of this lineup where he brings that net foot presence, which is something this team has consistently lacked for a couple of years now, probably since Wayne Simmons has left. His JVR wasn't a terrible net front guy, but, you never got what you were hoping out of him being that. And the power play was still fucking floundering then. We all know that. So you bring in a guy like Grabankin who relishes in physicality and loves just playing in those gritty battles in the net by the boards, something that, again, this team has lacked. It makes a guy like Tippett, who, he has some speed, but you have other guys in this lineup who are soon to come. Barkey's another guy that I think brings some legitimate speed here that would make some sense long term. We said, Talking called him TK Light. That's a good praise for a guy like that. So I'm looking at this big picture. I'm looking forward to seeing what Grabankin brings, but I do think Tippett, the writing could be on the wall unless he finally clicks of what we were hoping for him and he breaks out to like a 35-goal season, which at this stage where the guy can't hit the fucking net, he's like throwing friggin' a basketball in the ocean. He somehow still hits another boat. So at this point, he needs to find a way to hit the net consistently. So I love the kid, but the writing might be on the wall if Grabankin does make the breakout that we're maybe not breakout, but at least shows you that you could potentially become a guy like that because he's cheaper, especially too, and 5 years younger. So we'll see that.
There's one team to watch out for in the East, and one team I'm going to watch out for are the Habs. That team's really going to be fierce. They're going to be a force this year. They're going to wreak havoc. They're going to finish top three in the top three in the East. Wow. I'm serious about this, man.
There's a certain person in this group that's probably
they have freaking everything over there. Plus, but one thing that they do have is a phenomenal coach. I'm telling you, man, they have a coach out of the butt over there.
Yeah, he's been good.
Yep.
But
I'm predicting them to win the division. So my hot take is they win the division.
Yes, I mean that's a good hot take to have, Rick. I'm very high on the Habs.
After the Barkov injury, I think Florida dropped. So I think, I had them at second place before Florida stuff. So.
Yeah. But don't forget about Florida, man. Don't sleep on Florida, man. I have them winning it again this year. That's somehow. I just, I'm serious, man. I think they're going to be the first three-peat. Like, I just don't see how another team's going to take them down, especially when they get, Tkachuk comes back in December. They always have good goaltending. You know what I mean? They got a good deep. They got depth players over there. Man, I wanted the Flyers to go after Versailles or however you pronounce his name, for years, man. I was like, man, that's who I want.
Verhaeghe?
Yeah, man. Dang, man. Yo, he's a good player, man. He's so underrated over there. It's like people don't even talk about him. But that's a player that I wanted the Flyers to get for years. I was like, man, they had him.
And I think Anton Lundell's going to step up there.
Yeah. The big thing is losing Barkov is going to be massive. But if Lundell can at least step up, he's not going to fully replace Barkov. No one can.
Yeah. He's going to partially replace him, I think, and do pretty well.
Yeah. If they could get Lundell to 45, 50 points, maybe 55 points, I think they're going to be okay. You know what I mean? And that's what I have them at. I just think that core of Florida is just so well. Man, they're a force. But I do have the Habs finishing in first as well. They just got.
Love you, Jamey. Love you, Jamey.
Jamey Dobbs is going to be a hell of a freaking player, man. I poke fun at Rick all the time saying the Habs suck and all this other stuff. That's only for good fun. I really believe the Habs are really going to be that team that explodes this year. And it's like, oh, okay, we got to watch out for them.
They're back. They're back.
All right. With that, now that we're done with the Habs love, anything else we want to add before we make our regular season predictions for the first week of the season?
Let's go.
All right. So we got 2 games on the slate this week. Opening up the season at Florida and then at Carolina. Eric, I will let you lead off for the first week ahead predictions.
Oh, man, 2 real tough games to start off the season, man.
By the way, but actually, I want to say one thing before you start. We're going to keep track of all of our predictions this year, and we are going to put a standings as we do this each week of what we're at. So you're going to see a win-loss record pop up for all 3 of us for each week and then throughout for the year. So you'll see that over the season. But Eric, the floor is yours.
Okay. Shit. Because let's go with man. Okay, they're gonna lose to Florida. I think it's gonna be a close game, but they're gonna probably lose like a 3-2 game. I could see that become like a 3-2 Florida. Maybe in overtime. I don't know. Most probably in regulation, but a 3-2 loss to Florida. But I think they win in Carolina. I think it's gonna be another close game. I think Carolina's gonna be a top team. I think they're gonna win the division. They're gonna win the Metro, but I think the Flyers get the better of them that game, and I could see that being something like a 4-2 win. So yeah, I say 1-1.
Okay. All right. So your turn now, Mr. Jamey Bascal. What do we got?
I see the Flyers at 1-1. I actually have them beating Florida. Believe it or not, I actually have them winning 7-6 in the shootout, 8-7 in the shootout. Yeah, I'm dead serious about that, man. With the amount of goals, I think it's going to be a lot. And plus, it's first game of the season. Usually, from what I see, Florida struggles early, and it makes sense, right? Because they're always the last team to play the past few years, so it makes sense to have some slowness to their game at least to start the season. But another team I think that the Flyers could go pound to pound with is Carolina, because for the past few years they seem to get off to a slow start as well and have to start to turn it up. So I think the Flyers are catching both teams at the right time, to be honest with you. Even though you're right, Eric, I have that finish in top, near the tops in the division as well. Both teams, Carolina and Florida. And
Gotcha.
but I see them beating. Right, I see them beating Carolina. I agree. It'd be like a 3-2 adventure.
So you got 2-0 then?
No. What did I say? Beating? I had them losing to Carolina 3-2. Sorry.
Okay.
So I had them 1-1. Sorry about that.
That's all right. For me, here is my prediction. I'm with you, Jamey. I have them starting 1-1 as well. You know, the Flyers have won, I think, 8 straight opening games to start. They haven't lost their season opener, I think, since 2017 or something like that. They always seem like they win their opener in recent memory, at least. Florida, few things to mention. Obviously, they're going to be without Barkov and Tkachuk. And that Tampa game, they've been beating the hell out of each other. They might be a little beaten up from those games. And they always seem like they play Florida tough. They do. And I'm going to give them a win there. I'm going to say a 5-3 win on opening night. Mitchkov pots 2. I think Connected pots 1. I'll give Drysdale 1. I'll give Dvorak 1. Dvorak puts in the empty netter. Flyers win that game 5-3. And then they have Carolina. That is a team they have been henny-dicked by over the last few years. Carolina has won 9 out of the last 10 games against the Flyers. The lone win they have in that time frame was back in 2023 of, I believe, November or something like that, where they won 3-1. They always seem to struggle against Carolina. I'm going to have them losing that game 4-1. That just seems like they never seem like they win the second game, too. Another trend I've noticed. And it's happened the last couple of years. Last year, I think they started at Vancouver, won the first game, lost to Calgary in the second game. 2 years ago, I think they started at at Columbus, won the first game, then got smoked by Ottawa in the second game. I'm going to say the trend continues. They're going to win in Florida, a team they seem like they always play tough, and then they're going to lose to Carolina. So I will have them 1-1. Gentlemen, any final thoughts before we wrap this up?
Yes. What if the Flyers start out 0-2?
I'm going to hit the panic button because it's a very tough
No.
start to the season. They have 4 very difficult games to open up before the schedule kind of leans off a little bit. So I think I'm not worried about that. But I do think if they start 0-4 and don't win any of those games, then we might have to worry a little bit.
Yeah.
But
I think the same thing. I don't think I'd be too worried either. Like they'd lose it, they'd be losing against the reigning champs, reigning 2-time champs, and like a team that everyone's pretty much predicting to win the Metro. So the only thing that would concern me is depending how they lose. Like if they really like no show and like the goaltending looks as bad as it did last year, and like a lot of things go wrong, then I think I'm gonna be a little concerned. But that's honestly not what I'm expecting. So I think that they'd still be okay.
So do you predict Vladar to play Thursday night at some point or not?
Oh, he gets one of the 2 games for sure.
Yeah.
Do you think Urson gets pulled? Do you think so what I mentioned on another podcast, I was like, if Florida comes out and they're up 2-0 quickly at the end of the first period, do you think that Tocchet would have the guts to pull Urson after the first?
No, I don't think so.
No? Okay.
Not at 2-0. Not at 2-0.
Gotcha.
all right, gentlemen, that is going to wrap things up for us in this installment of Flyer Gonna Flyer. Thank you all for watching. As always, like, comment, and subscribe. We appreciate each and every one of your likes or comments here. Check out the QR code as always. We had our interview with Jim Jackson a couple episodes ago leading into the season. It was awesome. We had Isaiah from our sister station, the OMB Puck, as well as me, Eric, too. So check it out if you have any opportunities. But that's going to do it. We will see you next week when we go over the first 2 games of the season and just talk over things as a collective whole. But, ladies and gentlemen, Flyers hockey is back. Thank you all for tuning in. See you next week. And as always, let's go Flyers.